This is impossible. This cannot be happening.
A young woman nervously packs her things. She freezes in front of the phone for a moment, but then, as if making up her mind, continues her packing. Approaching the exit, she again gazes into the distance for a long while, then decisively places her keys on the shelf and leaves. Her car speeds down the road. She is distracted from driving by a call from a colleague who wants to know when she will complete the project assigned to her. Kate is greatly annoyed. She has been working on this project for nearly 5 years, successfully advancing it and earning money for the company. This time, too, she will complete everything on schedule, so there's no need for the constant calls. After expressing her thoughts, she firmly turns off her phone and reaches for her cup of coffee. However, it slips from the holder and falls. Kate leans down to pick it up, and suddenly she regains consciousness on the ground amidst an autumn forest. Her face and hands are bruised and her chest hurts terribly, but she has no memory of what happened or how she ended up here. Gathering her strength, she stands up and looks around. The forest is autumnal, misty, and cold. Suddenly, a noise from behind makes her turn, and she sees a man in protective gear and a gas mask, obscuring his face. Without asking any questions, he raises his gun and shoots her. Kate opens her eyes on the ground, in the same clearing, and hears the steps of her assailant. The man approaches, points the barrel of his rifle at her, but Kate convincingly plays dead. The assassin walks away, and Kate rises to her feet again. But just then, she is shot again by another similarly equipped man who assures her they knew she would come and were eagerly waiting. She falls to the ground once more. Her assassins approach her. One bends down to check if she is alive. Then Kate snatches a pistol from his pocket and shoots him, but the other immediately grabs her throat. The woman desperately struggles and receives a blow to the face. Everything blurs before her eyes, but she hears the man cocking his rifle and aiming it at her. Kate finds the strength to sit up and look her killer in the face as the shot rings out. Suddenly, her savior appears, a man urging her to leave the place quickly because it's dangerous. She follows him, trying to ask questions, but the man hurries her, explaining that there is a refuge nearby where they can rest. He also doesn't know what this place is. He woke up here and has no idea how he got here or what happened. He found a necklace and a photo of a woman in his pocket and suggests Kate check her own pockets. She finds a photo, but as she tries to examine it, a ringing noise fills her head and she closes her eyes. The man asks her not to close them because it will only make things worse. When the pain eases, Kate sees in the photo a man hugging her and a little girl. On the back, the names Sophie and Peter are written. Suddenly, a vision flashes. She's in the kitchen and the man calls her Kate. She rejoices, remembering him. Her rescuer introduces himself as Bubba, but who he is the man doesn't remember. At that moment, 3 more men dressed like the militants approach the clearing where the dead lie. After examining the bodies, their commander realizes that Kate has a companion. A report comes over the radio that several more fugitives have been captured. He activates a hologram of his leader, who reminds him that capturing Kate is a priority. Her memory will return soon, and she will find what she is seeking. And then this place may disappear, and they with it. So the commander needs to hurry. Meanwhile, Bubba and Kate reach a spot in the forest where they can rest. The man shares his water and hands Kate a first aid kit so she can clean up. The woman questions her companion about their location and what's happening around them, but he too is at a loss. He knows one thing for sure: the time here stands still, which Kate verifies using her watch. She speculates that they might be subjects in some experiment, and Bubba does not dismiss this possibility. He feels that his wife is very precious to him, but he has no idea where she is or if she's involved in what's happening. However, the photos in their pockets are not there by chance. Kate's head starts to hurt again, and her memories show her arguing with her husband, the road, the fallen coffee cup, and a car ahead. But then everything cuts off. Kate realizes she was in an accident. Suddenly, Bubba also remembers a damaged car and a lot of smoke around it, and he knows where that car is. Kate is determined to find it, but Bubba wants to look around first. He hands her a gun and points in the direction where he saw the car. Having agreed to meet back here in a couple of hours, they part ways. Kate walks through the forest and finds another equipped outpost. She searches it. In one of the drawers, she finds a flask of water and a cell phone, but all her attempts to call anyone lead nowhere. She sits down, starts examining the gadget, and suddenly realizes the photos and videos in the gallery belong to her family. She remembers the girl she was walking with in the park and a feeling of complete happiness. In one of the videos, her father asks her to mend the family relations because her husband loves her very much and is worried. Suddenly, Kate hears footsteps and sees a person in a suit, but she manages to hide before he finds her, leaving the phone in plain sight. As the surprised man examines the find, Kate shoots him. She takes his protective suit and ammo. Now camouflaged as a combatant, she soon reaches a clearing where she witnesses the execution of 4 civilians by a squad of militants. Later, the commander contacts the leader, who approves the liquidation of the fugitives but insists they find the woman. If her memory returns, they'll be in trouble. Meanwhile, Kate moves away from the execution site and suddenly comes across a protective barrier, invisible but painfully striking anyone who wants to leave the forest. In her head, Kate thinks this might be the edge of the earth, and humanity is subjects in an unknown experiment. She tries to circumvent the barrier but realizes there is no way through. She sits under a tree and cannot hold back her emotions. She is in pain and confused. Why did this happen to her? Her head starts to hurt again, and visions of the past flash by. Suddenly, she distinctly hears someone asking her to wake up. Kate gets up and walks in another direction, dropping the family photo. Militants appear, who find it and realize where she went. Kate reaches a half-destroyed house. However, a flying drone blocks her way. Waiting for it to leave, Kate enters the building. She walks down a long corridor, checking the rooms, and climbs to the 2nd floor. Suddenly, Bubba appears and immediately shoots a militant behind her. But an enemy emerging from the other side injures Bubba, who then dies by Kate's hand. She tries to help him, but he asks her to leave. Her exit is nearby, and she can leave this place, which is inaccessible for him. Kate says goodbye to him and moves on. She shoots several militants and proceeds further. Bubba is approached by the commander who, upon seeing the pendant with the portrait of a woman on Bubba's chest, acknowledges his right to die with dignity. At the same time, Kate suddenly hears her husband's voice calling her name. Immediately afterwards, she hears a woman's voice explaining that throughout the history of medicine, people have witnessed incredible miracles. But now, thanks to Dr. Jane Dunning, known as the mother of surgery, they are about to step beyond the unknown. For over 10 years, her team has been working on the Echo project, allowing comatose patients to reach other dimensions. The patient lives their life, even though their body is not functioning. Kate discovers that this is all being broadcast by the doctor on a laptop screen in one of the empty rooms. She begins to understand what has happened to her. She sees her family again, her husband and daughter. Suddenly, she remembers that the argument was because she was always away at work, spending very little time with her daughter. The girl was lonely and even drew a picture for her birthday of her mother coming home. Peter understands her obsession with work, but family is more important. Kate remembers the details of her project and realizes it was a comic about militants. She sees her drawings of men in camouflage and the image of their leader. As she packs to go on a business trip, she sees her husband and daughter in the kitchen, looks at them for a long time, then leaves the keys on the shelf and departs. Then the road, the coffee cup, and the car ahead. Then from somewhere above, she watches the scene of a severe accident where one of the cars tried to turn around and stalled, and the other crashed into it at full speed. Later, medics arrive. 4 people with the faces of those shot by the militants in the clearing died on the spot, and they pull her from the car. Although she is in a coma, she is still alive. The medics resuscitated her 3 times. These were the moments she came to after being shot by the militants. She sees how her body is loaded into an ambulance and taken away from the scene. A motorcyclist who slipped on the spilled gasoline was also involved in the accident and is now in a coma too. Back at the house, Kate hears the clicking of gun locks behind her, and turning around, she sees her pursuers. The commander admits that the situation is complicated. They need to keep her alive to survive themselves. Then at the hospital, her husband, keeping vigil by Kate's bed, sees her vitals begin to change threateningly. Her daughter holds her hand, and Kate slightly moves her finger. In the coma world, the militants open fire, but Kate doesn't feel the shots. She calmly shoots them with her pistol and walks away. Stepping outside, she sees the same misty forest, but now before her is a delicate bridge, crossing which the woman dissolves into the air. Years later, Kate lives in a secluded house outside the city, filled with antique items. One day, she washes dishes in the kitchen, then sifts through drawings of the misty forest, reminiscent of something. Then Peter arrives and immediately understands that something has happened to his wife. She starts asking questions because she suddenly realized that her life is going in circles. The same thing, no new events. What happened to her? Peter admits that he was warned this would happen. This is the third phase of the experiment supervised by Dr. Bubba. When he recovered from the accident, he volunteered to work with Kate, and now he has made unprecedented progress because he saw her there in the coma. They created a simulation where Peter could visit, and all this has lasted 21 years. Sophie has grown up and they have a grandchild. Kate asks to thank Bubba for everything and begs to be let go. Peter exits the simulation. Kate walks into the sunlight and disappears as her husband turns off the life support system. This is not a horror or thriller, but rather a gentle sci-fi, a film about love and loyalty and about the will and desire to live despite everything. It's exactly this that gives us, the people, the strength to continue. There won't be an end, but what awaits further?